Welcome to NFT Rebels, the podcast where technology, creativity, education, and non-fungible experiences meet each other. It's me, Annie Alexander, and in each episode, me and the Rebels will have a real unscripted talk, share genuine opinions, and show raw emotions. Should we start? Hello. Hey, everyone, and welcome to the NFT Rebels. Today, we have a special episode because I'm talking to the first artist I collaborated with for my Genesis piece on Foundation. So today, we have Nifty Sax in the show. So welcome, Nifty. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing very well. Thank you. How are you?
Fine. I'm, I started reconnecting again with many artists in the space because I was too busy with my new job and everything else. And I'm super happy to see how many people have gone how far during those, few months. So many things happened. Everyone kind of found their own ways and different paths. And, things have changed so much from the times when we were just connecting with each other on Twitter Spaces and trying to figure things out and, discussing different ideas. So I'm very happy to see that many have gone, really, really much further than when they just started. And you're one
beautiful.
of them, obviously.
It's really beautiful.
It is, yeah. So, for those who don't know you, would you like just to make a brief intro of who you are and what you do, and then we can roll from there?
Yeah. So quick intro. So I'm a musician, an instrumentalist, and I've been a musician all my life. I've never had any other job. So before the pandemic, I was making a living with live music, playing saxophone, singing, sometimes piano. So I was just a working musician. I wasn't even really trying to make a name for myself necessarily. I was happy making a living as a musician, playing any kind of events. I was doing some jazz clubs and bars, and even corporate events and weddings. Sometimes I worked in theater as a music director. But this is just a quick intro about me. And then what I did with NFTs when the pandemic hit, I had a lot of music bottled up inside of me, so I just decided to record a lot of saxophone. And so my first collection, my Genesis collection, was just pure saxophone, completely unscripted. It was just improvisation, so stream of consciousness solos. And those were 100 pieces, and it's about like 5.5 hours of music, something like that. Then I moved on from that. When it was finished, I did the Nifty Sax Spheres, which is a little bit more approachable in terms of music because it's a little bit more listenable. It's like very relaxed and chilled, very easy to listen music. And also the price was much more affordable because my Genesis was priced on a bonding curve. So the pieces go up and up in price. But the spheres were all released at the same price, which was 0.03 ETH. And that collection was sold out in about 10 hours on the day of the drop, which was amazing. And it generated a lot of ETH for me and for my collectors, which is really good to see. And now we have a nice community. The secondary keeps going. Now it's at almost double of what the mint price was. And we are really just getting started.
That sounds good. That sounds good. Let's just take few steps backwards. And you mentioned that you were making living by playing live, and obviously COVID happened, the pandemic came in, and everything shut down. And from one side, you ended up with tons of time, I guess. But on the other hand, I'm sure there has been loads of uncertainty and kind of insecure times, etc. So was that when you discovered NFTs, or like what was your kind of transition or entry point to NFTs? Where did you hear about them, and what was your journey towards it?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, actually, I learned about NFTs probably last year, like around December maybe. Just accidentally, I was reading on Twitter on just I don't know. I think I was reading something about maybe some CryptoPunk sales, which at the time were selling for quite a lot of money, but definitely nothing close to what they're
Like now,
going for
yeah.
now. But
Yeah.
it was I don't remember, but it was definitely a lot of money, something like $50,000, which to me seemed insane. And right now it would be crazy to be able to get a CryptoPunk for that. Um, and yeah, so that really got me curious. I just I always loved new technologies, so I just wanted to learn more about it, and I kind of started to look into it. And I don't really know how I really got into the community, like how I found out other people that were making NFTs. But I remember that what brought me really in was realizing that nobody was making music NFTs. And the only music NFT was like the only that I can think of that did really well was around February. Was the Beats, this generative music collection,
Mhm.
which did incredibly well. And shortly after, then I dropped my Genesis. I was already preparing it by the around February, because it took me quite a while to record all these pieces and then put them all together and create a website and this new persona of Nifty Sax and Twitter and everything. Um, so yeah, then I realized this was awesome. I was for the first time at the beginning of something, and it was just perfect for me, because I had a lot of time and I had a lot of creative juice, because I wasn't playing. I was used to play like at least 2-3 times a week, and so I wasn't playing live, and I had all this energy, all this creativity bottled up, and so it was perfect. I decided to just start surfing the wave, and that was awesome. That was one of the best decisions of my life, because I was really if not the first, I was definitely one of the first instrumentalists to release music as NFTs. There were other people, maybe some rappers and things like that, people that released sort of more
Yeah.
complete productions, but I hadn't seen anybody release instrumental music just with one instrument. So I thought, this is great. I have to do it. I have to be in it.
Yeah. No, it's definitely unique. I mean, music NFTs, music NFT artists are highly underrepresented in this sphere for sure. Just like some others. So for now, visual art seems to be kind of prevailing if you compare to the whole kind of space. You mentioned about creating the Nifty Sax persona.
Mm-hmm.
And you've been under that persona for quite a long time. You're still using that persona, but after a while you also showed your face, because
Yeah.
in the beginning you were not. So tell me a little bit about that decision. Like, why did you decide to come up with a persona in the beginning, and what made you sort of show your face afterwards? Like, was there anything like, because many artists are now kind of debating between the two, or some make choices towards one extreme or towards the other, and you kind of had this mixed approach of starting by persona and then kind of showcasing the real you as well
Yeah.
afterwards.
Well, I think so. There's a couple of things that made me change. So initially, it was just a dumb idea. Just whatever. I want to have this secret saxophone player. Like, it was just whatever. Just because I saw that was what other people were doing, like creating. Everything was like sort of secret and crypto. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just a dumb idea. But then, apart from that, I kept it until I realized, first of all, it's it's a lot of energy to try to keep everything secret, and I would much rather be myself. It's way
Mm-hmm.
better if I can be myself also online. It's not tiring. I can just be myself here and be myself there, everywhere. I can just
Yeah.
relax. And second, also very important, hearing also some big collectors like Mentalist talk about how important it is to trust an artist. And I realized that when I started to collect other people, very rarely I collect from people that I haven't spoken to or I haven't seen their face. I don't see who they really are. because it's risky, like buying an NFT is not just because you like it or you want to support an artist. It's also an investment, and so it's risky to buy from people that you don't know who they are. So I thought, okay, let me put my face out there. My name now is on my profile. Everybody can Google me and see what I was doing before, and so I think that was really beneficial for me actually to sell out also my second collection, because I was out there with my face, my name, and my voice on Twitter Spaces every day. So that makes things easier, I think, for collectors and also for myself.
Yeah, I think that's, the trust factor is, I mean, I respect both decisions, right? To be fair, like, I've been in crypto long enough to know that, sometimes there are certain issues that can arise by people knowing who you are, et cetera, et cetera. So, sometimes I can understand the decision of people to just, stay anonymous and kind of, be behind persona.
Yeah.
But I do agree that people probably resonate better and connect better with the people that they can see, that they can speak to, and create a relationship with. So and in your case, I guess, it was also very beneficial because you've been in the space for a long time. Before getting into NFTs, you have been creating. So like you did have already kind of, even if it wasn't a known brand, you had a legacy, you had stuff to show, you had a portfolio, right? Which is important as well. Like, people could go and check and see that you didn't start out yesterday just because NFTs were booming, right? So I guess that was important as well.
That is very important, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that you were actually, even before the second collection, you were actually showing up daily on Twitter Spaces and having your own spaces and talking to people. And it was called, it still is called, right? For introverts,
Spaces for introverts.
Space for introverts. And I remember, like, I mean, I don't even know, like, I don't consider myself being an introvert, but I ended up going there regularly, which is the funny part of it. But
everyone is welcome.
Yeah, but it's interesting because introverts that's the biggest challenge, right? For them to engage and to participate in the community, first of all, let alone to initiate stuff themselves and, and open up spaces and do it regularly on daily basis, right? So was that a challenging? Like, why did you decide to do so, and how did it go?
Well, I think that actually also changed my life for the better, because I think I had this idea somehow I had to have this persona always online, and by doing spaces every single day, I started being myself more and more and more and more until now I'm just relaxed. I'm myself. And that is not so draining, because it is draining for an introvert to try and be on all the time, like to have always this sort of whatever persona they try to be. And that's super draining. So I did that because I realized that I really had trouble to speak in many spaces, because people were talking on top of each other, like everybody was taking the word, and it's like, I can't do that. I don't feel like I want to talk on top of other people. And also, if people don't address me when I enter the stage, when I join a conversation, I feel like I don't want to just start talking in the middle of somebody else's conversation. I feel really awkward doing that. And most spaces where I was going, people were not addressing me. Maybe I was asking to speak because I had something to say, but nobody was saying, hey, you just came up, you want to say something. So that was a problem. So I thought, okay, let me just start it for me. Let me talk with people that feel like me, and so we can all kind of get to know each other. And that was beautiful, because that's how I made some amazing friends in this space. And then I was able to kind of relax online as well, and just learn how to be myself, because I had this weird feeling that I should be a different self online, and now I'm not. And that really came from doing spaces every day, and I'm super grateful for that. Now I restarted doing it every day, and I'm excited to see where this takes me. But on a personal level, that was amazing, on a personal growth.
Yeah, I think it also helped many people who were just getting to the space for the first time. So yeah, I feel like, those kind of spaces which encourage people to speak up and show up are very important. Like your spaces, Komachi's confidence space is very important as well. There are a few spaces where, like, when people come in and just start and tell me like where to go, I'm like, okay, these are the two spaces where it's safe, it's cozy, for beginners it's very welcoming. Just start from there, and then you will, with the time you will figure things out, right? So
Yeah.
I think it's very important what you guys are doing. In terms of the learning curve, obviously, like, you've been a musician, and you worked, you're an artist, and you were not familiar to this whole kind of blockchain, crypto wallets, and the whole technical aspects of things, which as a minimum we need to learn, because that's what we are using as tools for this space. So how easy was it to figure things out? Like, was the learning curve too steep? Like, what was your experience there?
Well, personally for myself, it wasn't that difficult because I usually embrace new technologies, so it wasn't very hard to just get into, because I'm also very used to learning. I still learn every day. I learn something new, and so yeah, I don't think it takes that long. In a week, if somebody, especially nowadays, there's so much information out there. When I started, maybe not so many videos, but now if you look even on YouTube, there's so many videos telling you how to do this and that and MetaMask and everything else. So I think I don't know. I don't remember that being necessarily difficult. It was more difficult to learn actually how this market moves, and because this was completely new. I mean, new technology. Okay, it's kind of similar to everything else that I have learned in technology aspects, but this market for me was completely mind blowing, the way that it was moving. Because I mean, I had learned how to market myself as a musician and how to promote and everything. I was doing pretty well as a musician in the traditional world, but in the NFT, things moved in a completely different way, and also what you have to provide to the people that buy your things are completely different than in Web 2. Like it's completely different than having fans. Here you don't have fans; you have friends and collectors and investors. It's kind of, so that actually took me quite some time, and I'm still totally learning. And that for me, that's the hardest part. Maybe if somebody is already more used to maybe business and marketing things, maybe for them it would take only a week. Like for me, it took a week to learn the technology part. But for me, this other stuff really eludes me. So I'm still trying to learn as much as I can every day. I probably didn't know what the hell I was doing for the first 3 months. I was just trying things out, and probably the biggest mistake was just trying to do what other people were doing. Like, oh, I want to do this, I have to do this. If I don't do this, it's not going to work. So that just chasing always something else. And then I realized, okay, let me just work on what I want to do and see if that actually can be successful. That was much easier, much more relaxed.
Yeah, I think that's I think that's a better strategy, because when you're trying to do what everyone else is doing, you kind of blend in, right? And when you
Yeah.
do something that you want to do, and especially if that something is not popular, hasn't been done before, you kind of stand out by default just by being different, right? By taking a different route and using different methods and kind of looking at things from different angles. So I always say that it's always kind of yes, probably just using different strategies that have worked for other people may feel safer, but people get immune to those. So it's just a matter of time whether you will be able to have similar results with that exactly same method or not. And things move really, really fast. So it's not really a sustainable approach that will take you really far, I think.
Totally.
So
And also something else that I realized But it's that most people don't know what the hell they're doing. If you follow them, you might just go into a ditch. It's much better to just
That's
come up with something.
That's true. And like most of them will never acknowledge that, right?
Yeah.
In most cases, they don't know what they're doing, but they will never tell that they don't know what they're
Oh
doing, right?
yeah.
So they will pretend that they're very
Yeah.
confident. That's
Yeah.
exactly what they were planning and how they were planning things. But then
Yeah.
there was an element of luck in some cases, or just yeah, I totally agree with you here. I mean, obviously, we touched the subject that music NFTs are very niche, at the moment, and especially like instrumental music. Why do you think that is? Because I feel like it's yeah, I mean, anything that is not extremely visual is a challenge in this space, at least for the moment. But if you look at it, like the barriers to enter are the same. So like, theoretically, any artist in any format kind of, can come in. So why do you think like the wave for musicians hasn't arrived yet? And I think it's the same for photographers, maybe, for some other disciplines at the moment, writers, etc.
Well, I think it's coming, and it's coming really fast. Like, people are really storming the place now. I host spaces for musicians, and there are so many new musicians every single day. But I think the answer might lie into what happened in the last 20 years, both for photography and music. It's just that people are completely desensitized to the value of music because they are used to just getting it for free everywhere. Photos, just take your phone. Everybody is a photographer now. Music, you just take your phone. Spotify, everybody has music there. Everybody's a DJ with the whatever new programs. So
Yeah.
I think people in general are desensitized to the value of music. So I think that it's taking a while for people to consider to actually sell music, and also to actually make their music scarce. Like, they feel like they want to be everywhere. Like, oh, I just want to be famous. I don't care. I want my music to be viral. This, even if it doesn't pay me anything, I just want to be. So that's kind of a problem. And so I think most people are still pursuing that. They just want to be famous on Spotify, even though that doesn't bring any money, instead of actually making their music more rare and maybe even more difficult to acquire, but actually valuable. So I think that's going to take a while to change the mindset of the consumers and also of the producers. And I guess I don't know anything about photography, so I cannot really comment on that, but I assume it's probably something similar that happened with music. Everybody is desensitized now to photography just because everybody has a camera in their pocket. So that probably made things a little bit hard to assign value to a photo.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, with this, just going back to the title and 120K with music NFT collectibles. Obviously, like, there are several kind of routes to approach this. No matter which discipline you are at, you can create collections, you can do a collectible project, or you can just go with the one-on-one route, right? So in your case, this last collection was kind of it kind of worked as a collectible from the logical perspective, because it had rarity metrics, embedded to it, and there were kind of different ones within the same collectible, etc., etc. So why did you choose that approach? Like, what was like your thought process of choosing what to do, and why did you kind of model it from that perspective?
So the biggest factor that actually really pushed me to do this was the fact that my previous collection, the Genesis, was structured in a way that was getting more and more expensive with every piece sold. And so by the time 8 and 10 pieces were sold, the floor price was already 0.1, 0.11, 0.12, because every piece was going up by 0.01. And that was a big problem for me, because I wanted my friends to be able to collect me. All the people that I was talking to, they could not afford 0.1 or 0.15, 0.2. That's crazy for them. They don't want to spend that much because they are barely, at the time. Now maybe many of them are doing much better, but at the time they were barely making any ETH. They didn't want to throw it around like that. And so that was the first thing that pushed me to think creatively. So what can I do with music that will allow me to have a lower barrier of entry? So the simplest answer that people took was, let me go to Tezos, where there's no gas and everything, and I just put things in multiple editions for a really, really low price, and let's be done with it. I didn't like that very much because I really like to have my stuff on Ethereum because I believe in Ethereum. And so I decided to implement everything that I saw from the collectibles, the PFP projects, the profile picture, and put it into what I was doing. So I took a few elements from the collections that I saw that were successful. So I definitely wanted to have a blind mint, but in order to have a pre-reveal and post-reveal, I had to add something that had to be revealed. So I decided to assign a different amount of editions to each piece. So there were 55 pieces in the collection, and there were 10 in edition of 10, 9 in edition of 9, 8 in edition of 8, and so on until all the way to 1 of 1, the last one. So now there are 10 different tiers of rarity. And also there were some different colors, but that didn't impact the rarity. That's together with the rarity. So that I took from the PFP projects, and that already allowed me to have a blind mint, because if you minted a piece, you didn't know which rarity you were gonna get. You could probably get one of the 100, the 10 in edition of 10, that's the most common one, or maybe the 1 of 1. And so I really liked that idea. And so I had a blind mint with my own custom contract. Then I also liked to implement a pre-sale and the mint pass. So I was able to sell a few pieces for a discount to some of the people in the community. And also I allowed some people to avoid gas by giving away some mint passes. So they were able to mint 48 hours before the drop date. And that also is something that I took from other collectibles.
Yeah.
So basically, it's kind of a mixture of a collectible project and a one-of-one kind of art, because the maximum every piece is still very rare, because the least rare is still only a 1 of 10. So it's actually a pretty rare edition. It's not like 1 of 1,000 like some other people might do. So that's what I liked. So it's a very, very small collection, only 385 mints in total, and every piece is pretty rare. And just that some pieces are more rare than others, that's all.
Yeah. No, I really like that idea. And I think, like, at the moment, because music NFTs are so rare by default, like it's even in the whole market at the moment, like, it also has this kind of historic value because it's among the first ones, right? So like, there will be more and more coming, but like the OG projects in that field are going to be just few, right? Just the first ones, definitely. Basically. So there is always kind of that value of, okay, this type of thing was done the first time, or, the second or third, like, the first few batches are kind of the ones that are always going to be kind of very important and have symbolic kind of meaning behind it anyway. So so that's very important. In terms of collectors, I mean, obviously, when you're doing a collectible, depending on what the collectible is about, they are different type of people that would resonate with it more than the others, right? In your case, it's music, it's a music NFT, it's instrumental music, so it's like a niche of a niche of a niche. So many artists are asking me, like, okay, I have this idea, I want to do a collection or a collectible, or whatever. Where do I find my collectors? Where do I go and what do I do? So what was your approach? I know that you continued doing your Twitter Spaces, and Twitter was your, preferred social media channel. But in general, like, where does one start? Even like, what do you do? Like, what's the exercise behind it to try to get the attention of the relevant collectors?
Well, I think it all lies in the community aspect of it. So I think your first collectors are going to be other people in the community if you start humble and with a low barrier of entry. So what I did was just be part of the community, engage with people, comment on their work, go to spaces, see what other people were doing. Then I started to do my spaces. I started to buy some pieces. That was very, very helpful for me. And I totally encourage everybody to start buying from your fellow creators, because this is how you start a community. In my experience, that has worked really well for me and for the people that I bought the pieces from. I even flipped some of those pieces, so you can even make some money if you're lucky. But that's not the reason why you should do it. You should really do it to be a member of the community, an active member. Because when you start to collect from people, they will be very grateful. They will be happy to help you when you need to be helped. When you have a big drop coming and you bought like 5-10 pieces here and there, these 10 people will be really happy to help you, because maybe you helped them out when they were just starting. So that's really important. That's kind of what I did. I realized that if I wanted to be a member of this community, I had to really show up and actually put my money where my mouth was, not just be there. Oh yeah, I want to be supportive and everything. So let me just put some money in some of my friends. And so that's what I did. And I think that that really helped me. So I think this is really the best thing. Just be there and collect from people. As long as you can afford it. Of course, don't spend money that you can't spend. And if you are an artist, don't put all your pieces, especially if you're just starting out, don't put all your pieces out of reach, because then nobody can help you. Nobody can collect you except like the 1% of the population. So that was my approach, and I think it works.
Yeah, I mean, it did. You did well. I mean, you mentioned you sold out in 10 hours.
Yeah.
And obviously you didn't use any paid marketing, any influencers. It was like totally organic, and it was like a result of hard work and being out there and being part of the community. And I truly believe, I totally agree with you that, when someone is part of a community and is genuine and doesn't have a hidden agenda, and kind of, builds genuine relationships with people, people are more than happy to help you out when the time comes, right? Because, because you've been around for long enough to show that you're not doing it because in the future you were going, I mean, I'm sure but by the time you were talking to people on Twitter Spaces, you didn't even know that this collection would have been coming, right? You didn't even have that idea in mind. So so I think that's very important, because now the more the community will grow, more diverse it will become, and more kind of, we will end up with very different type of people coming in. So the ones who are true and the ones who are really here for a long term, are people will feel it. Like it's just, people will know it. So I think that's the most sustainable strategy. Maybe it won't make you kind of a millionaire right away, but it will make you get the reputation that you need, which in small spaces like this, reputation is very, very valuable, because it's kind of, it is what people will be looking into. For collectibles, you already mentioned the community aspect of it, that it's very important.
Yeah, that's the first part. Yeah.
That's the most important part. But also, many these days, because things are changing and developing further, and the market matures, many are expecting a certain utility of the token, or a certain kind of, they anticipate something for the future. People are looking at roadmaps. People are kind of, trying to understand whether this artist is going to be here like a year from now, 2 years from now, etc. So how did you approach that side of the story? Like, do you have there for your token holders who have that collection in place at the moment?
Yeah. So yeah, this is something that I'm definitely still learning. But my thinking on this is that the best utility that I can provide to my holders is the fact that the tokens will increase in value as long as I keep staying here. That's the best thing that I can do for them. I give them something, like basically now they're my shareholders. I try to bring their stocks up. And as I keep working on myself and my brand and next collections and anything like that, those tokens will increase in value. There's just no way around it. There's a limited supply, and so they cannot go down if I keep pushing, if I keep being there. So that's number one. I think I don't need extra utility. Then what I did for the Genesis, and what I do also for the Spheres, is that I give so in the Genesis there are unlockable files that contain a wave audio file of the track, and also the same wave but completely untouched, super dry. There's no reverb, no anything, so producers can use it on their own productions. But I think that's really not the selling point. Of course, I do that because I like to do that. It's a non-exclusive license. They can use it for whatever they want, commercial or not commercial, and I think that's cool. But in my opinion, what makes it what makes these tokens worth what they're worth is that I keep being here, and I keep being a member of the community, and I keep creating. So that's how I see it for myself. Maybe for a super big collection with 10,000 pieces, maybe it's different. But for me, that's the way I see it. It's kind of a smaller community, and I just have to show up and be here and keep promoting myself and my brand and what I do, in order for those tokens to increase in value. So that's how I see it. That's the best utility. Also, that's the utility that I like. I don't really care so much when a token comes. Oh, it comes with this and that and this physical thing that you have to claim. I don't want to do extra work. When I buy something, whatever, I just want to buy it. I don't want to keep engaging with it all the time. I just want it to increase in value, and then maybe one day I want to sell it. That's all. But maybe that's just me.
No, makes sense. Absolutely, it totally makes sense. In terms of, I mean, obviously this was kind of a collectible and a big project, and it took lots of time and effort. With your one-on-ones and your collaborations, like, how do you approach collaborations? Because like I remember when I was like, I've done 2 collaborations up to now. I'm on my 3rd one at the moment. But in the very beginning, for me, it was so scary. I'm like, oh my God, like, how do you even choose who to do it with, right? Like, we're part of a community. We have so many friends. All of them are very talented. All of them are really good. Like, how do you pick one for the thing? So my personal approach to that was like, it was driven by the work. So like, we, both collaborations and the 3rd one as well is a poem based. So I was just trying to get the vibe of the poem. And then I was trying to understand like that vibe and that concept, who has a similar kind of style or similar kind of, ideas or values as an artist that would make it a big good fit, right? And sometimes it may work, sometimes it may not work, and you approach people and you don't know whether they will say yes or no. Like, it's you can't predict that. So what's your approach to for collaborations?
Well, I think for me it just happens kind of organically. It starts mostly more from the person than the work, and of course I have to like the work and I have to think that it makes sense with what I do. But that usually comes second. First, I engage with people, and we have a connection, or there's like a vibe. There's a good vibe, and it feels like, okay, we are kind of in the same mindset, and so let's work together. Let's make something together, since we already have a good there's a good chemistry. Maybe that chemistry will translate also into the work, and that's going to be nice to look at or to listen to for other people as well. And so that's how it starts for me usually. All the people that I collaborated with, I just had a really good vibe with them before, and then we realized that also the work was also a good match. We could do something really nice together. And there's quite a few now in the pipeline coming, and it just got a little bit overwhelmed with many things to do. But there's definitely many more coming.
Yeah, it's I think it's nice to put two strengths together and kind of come up with something diverse that wouldn't exist if you were doing it by yourself. So yeah, there is a beauty in it. You mentioned something about you kind of differentiated the artist from the art. So how do you look at that? Many, I've spoken to some collectors who are saying that for them it's very important who the artist is, because the artist is part of the package of what they are buying, right?
At least for a living artist, if an artist is dead, I don't really care what he was like in life. But for a living artist that you have to collect, I guess
current
it's part
NFT
of the art.
artists, right? Yeah, exactly. And some others are kind of, there are some art pieces from anonymous people, artists who we've never met, never seen. They are alive, but we don't even know who they are. Who are also popular. So they, in this case, collectors are kind of, this case, I guess the spotlight is on the art piece itself, or the style or the quality, but not really like who the artist, like who represents that art, right? So what's your approach? Like, what do you think is like, I don't know. Do you think that the art represents the artist, is a result of artists' experiences, feelings, thoughts, etc.? Or do you think that, like, those can be separated, and a collector, when they are buying a piece, they're just buying that piece of art?
Well, I mean, the philosophical aspect, I don't know, like if the artist is represented in the art all the time. That it was probably like a deeper and longer conversation. But in terms of the market, like if I buy something, I personally prefer to know who I'm buying from, because it's again, we were talking about before, it's an investment. So I want to know that this person is kind of sound mind, and they're not going to all of a sudden like be completely nuts and disappear or something, or do something that I don't agree with, maybe like being, I don't know, like a bad person or something. Not to say that devalues the art, but in this market, I think, since the artist is living, that is the driving factor of the value of the art. As long as the artist keeps increasing in popularity, then my pieces that I bought from this artist then increase in value. So I think specifically for NFTs and anything that can increase in value, whether you're buying from a living person, I think, it is very important to know who this person is. And sometimes it might be even important to just have a good vibe with this person, because then you feel like you bought something from a person that you actually like. So even if it doesn't go anywhere, at least you supported somebody that you were happy to support,
makes sense.
That's always nice.
You were talking, and I just recalled the times when you could theoretically buy people's pieces for $1 a piece.
Wow, yeah.
So it's and it wasn't like ages ago, right? If you look at it that way, like it wasn't really ages ago. It was relatively recently. I mean, it was ages ago in NFT kind of time frame, but still, if you look at it, it's just there hasn't been passed so much time from that point on. So that kind of reminds me, that whole theory of yours, that the tokens are going to increase in value, and so people who kind of believed and got his pieces for $1 a piece, kind of they stuck with it, kind of held it for a little bit of time, and then they could see immediately kind of what happened next. So
they probably really liked they probably really liked his work, and also his kind of irreverent personality. They probably really liked the way he was operating in general. I cannot say for sure, but probably. That really worked out for them, for people's collectors.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's we kind of talk about this stuff, and maybe, you know, for those who are watching, I don't want to leave the wrong impression that things are easy and fast and, you know, etc. Right? There is no such thing as overnight success. Yes, here the market moves fast and things are, you know, happening much quicker than in some other places, for sure. That's the specifics of this space. But in general, like, you know, since we mentioned people, or, you know, there are many other kind of, you know, people in there who ended up being successful, but that was a result of 10 years of grinding daily, right? So no one really looks at that side of the story. Like, you know, yes, your collectible did well, but like, how many years did you work as a musician before you got into this space? Right?
Oh yeah, it's like at least 15, 20 years. That's a long time.
So what I mean is, like, yes, in this space, many may have this illusion that, oh my God, like, it's a hot space. All I need to do is just get out there and put something out and mint, and it's going to work out because everything does. But that's not really how it works. And especially for artists who are not kind of, you know, who are coming up with projects that are like specifically highlighting the skill set and the art and, you know, that side of the story of the NFTs, and not really kind of looking at it as an alternative kind of coin, or kind of, you know, just investment for flipping, or just another element for flipping and trading and making money, then it's definitely not an overnight success. Like, you know, even for that collectible specifically, you worked hard. But like, if you look at it and zoom out and look at it from the other perspective, all artists have this, you know, package, like, and backstory of loads of experiences, lots of tries, you know, many hours of crafting the art and you know, and everything else. So I think that's a very important message. Just, you know, don't think it's just, you know, it was very easy and smooth and fast, because I'm sure you can attest that it isn't.
I think it's definitely not for the faint of heart. It's not for everybody. And I can say that I was also very lucky about the fact that I was basically out of a job, so I had plenty of time, and I dedicated it all to this. Like, since March, that's what I did every single day, all day. And I think that's kind of what it takes, probably. Maybe not so much, but still, you have to be there probably every day for a few months, because unless you bring a lot of people from the Web 2, it's gonna be hard. Even if you bring people from Web 2, it's gonna be hard. So it takes definitely a lot of effort. And yeah, so I don't want to give that the wrong impression that it was like, yeah, sold out in 10 hours. That was just the end result of a lot of pushing.
It's like, was it Picasso who was like, yeah, to draw that thing on a napkin took me 2 minutes, but it took me in reality so many years to be able to do it in 2 minutes. So that's the message. I mean, since we're kind of about to wrap up, and we mentioned about the whole kind of overnight success stuff. Obviously, many people get to a point where, you know, things don't work out immediately, and there is lots of effort and hard work and patience that is required. And there always comes a point where people start thinking whether it's time to give up, or whether they're good enough or not, whether they should continue, or it doesn't work because they are doing the wrong thing. And, you know, there are loads of kind of these negative thoughts that come to your mind. So when that happens, obviously, like, there are two choices. Some persevere and just keep on pushing. Some others just give up and get out. For when that time comes, like, what's your advice to those who get to that point? Because we all get there sometime and then restart and, you know, continue moving. So what will help just to go forward?
Yeah, that's a really hard question. I mean, I definitely reached that point many times in my journey, and it's really hard because sometimes it is good to move on and do something else. Maybe that's not for you. So it's hard to know when you reach that point. So when is it that is it enough? I realize that this is not for me. I don't know. So for me, the thing is that I was really sure that I wanted this because I've always been a musician. I've never done anything else. So what's better than being able to sell my music to people? And it's really, it's not only my music, like whatever, like my jazz album. It's my truest music, like stuff that I just my saxophone. It's like the purest music that I can produce. It's really just a representation of myself as an artist. So there was nothing better for me at that time. Like the only better thing was maybe to play live, but that's that wasn't an option. So I just kept going and going. And even now that if live music still comes back, I will definitely play live again, but I will only do it as a almost as a hobby at this point, because I would much rather do this. So that's the thing. For if you're really sure that that's where you belong, then I would say just keep going, and
Or
it
you'll
will
play
work.
only on your, or you will play only for your token holders
Well, I will.
exclusively.
You know what? I will definitely be selling NFTs at my shows. That's for sure. I definitely want to integrate the two, and the people that own my tokens also. I want them to be able to come to my shows. That is 100%. I can't wait for the day where I will sell an NFT at one of my shows. That's gonna be awesome. So yeah, for
Yeah,
me,
I mean,
there was
it's gonna
no
come.
choice. Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna come for sure. Fingers crossed, things get better, and
Yeah.
we go back to normal life and gatherings and everything else. So we'll see when it happens. But yeah, I'm sure
Yeah.
it's there are loads of other implications with NFTs that you can use in terms of experiences, in terms of ticketing, and and I'm sure you're gonna have concerts in the metaverse in the future.
Oh yeah.
Because it's just inevitable. I think there will be tons of things that we will be doing in the metaverse in the future, instead of just going out and seeing each other live at one point. So yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, thank you very much. I think, I hope that it was useful for those who are looking into collectibles and kind of, more, I mean, less aggressive 10,000 10K
Yeah.
PFP collectibles, but rather kind of a modification of the artistic collectibles, so to speak, and also kind of it was useful from the practical level to sort of to know what to pay attention to, how to approach this, what to think about. Obviously, it's going to be different for everyone, and the priorities will be different, the style will be different,
Oh yeah.
the discipline will be different, etc., etc. But I'm sure that the biggest takeaway is kind of do you, basically. If being you and doing you is something that hasn't been done before, even better. Just try, and if it works out, it works out big, and then you will have the money and the to free up your time, and then the time
Yeah.
to do other things that you like and love doing. So that's kind of very important as well. So I think trying is always worth it, because then you will always think like, what would have happened if I tried, right? So
Oh yeah. Yeah.
that's
Also, I think the best advice that I can give, really, that I found out for myself, is it's awesome to be yourself. Like there's really nothing better, especially also in art. Like if you can express exactly what you want to express and even make money from it, that's nothing better. So I would say really to not chase what works and what seems to be the trend. Just do what you want to do, and it's gonna be really nice. You're gonna feel really good doing that, and then if the money comes, it's even better. But it's so awesome to express yourself, like a true, like what art was meant to be like before algorithms and stuff like that. You just do what you want to do. And so
yeah.
that's beautiful.
Yeah,
And I
do
wish for
agree
more
with
people
you.
to do that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. And one of my favorite quotes is by Oscar Wilde, who says, like, be yourself. Everyone else is already taken. So it's just, yeah. So
Yeah.
I think that's very important, because we are getting these questions, right? Like, I think my style is not very popular in this space. Should I change my style or shouldn't I? And I'm like, no, of course not. Like, first of all, if you change it, it's gonna be, I think they will feel like they're doing a job,
Yeah, exactly. It's horrible.
which is
This is
hard,
about
because
freedom.
and there are better paid jobs, for at
Yeah.
least for the starting
For less
artists,
trouble.
right? So for less trouble. So I think that's very important. So yeah, I mean, the final takeaway is, be yourself, guys, and
Yes.
just do you, and try out things that you have in your mind, and see what happens next. That's where the magic comes from.
100%.
So yeah. Well, thank you very much. It was very nice to speak to you, and
thank you.
and thank you for the Genesis piece. I think it was like, we did really great, and it was a very smooth ride, and it was very quick, and yeah, it was a very interesting experience. So it's always kind of, when you continue doing this several times, it's always special in a different way, but like the first time is always kind of, a very different and unique experience, because it hasn't happened before. So yeah, it's very special.
It was a pleasure collaborating.
Thank you. Yeah. So I guess that's it from us. Thank you very much. And thanks for everyone who watched this. And hopefully we will have more replays. And, also people are listening to this on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well. So yeah, hopefully we brought a bit of value, and you got some tips and some ideas, and a bit of encouragement. So there you go. Just go ahead and do something.
Definitely.
Okay.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Take care. It was a pleasure. Bye.
Bye.